wanna start a revolution.
Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new edition of the Angle Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Joey Karni, and today's guest is one with an incredible story. Whether he's protecting our country or he's making hits, this guy is doing what he can to live his dreams. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Tehuti Miles. How are you? And welcome to the Angle Podcast.
Thank you for having me, and I am doing great. I can't complain at all. How are you?
I'm great, man. I'm great, and I'm great to have you here and talk a lot of stuff because your story is one that's really, really like there's a lot of words you can describe it, but I really think the one word would be interesting. And with your time with WWE, you really didn't get to hear that story to its truest form. So I'm glad to have you here and be able to talk about it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, man.
Appreciate it. And of course, your story is one that needs to be heard because it's so impactful. If you can elaborate on when you decided that wrestling was the dream, wrestling was the goal for you.
So back in the day when I was a kid, I grew up poor and stuff. So like me, my parents, my brother, my sister, and one of my cousins lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. With like just it was just dirty and like mold everywhere and like water bugs and stuff. It was not a good time. Yeah. But my cousin, he's older than me, and he loves wrestling. And it's probably when I'm like, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 years old or something like that. And he would watch Monday Night Raw and SmackDown religiously, like every single week. And so, of course, myself and my brother would watch it with him, and then we both got so into it. And so my cousin is basically the reason why I got a love for pro wrestling. And ever since I started watching it with him when I was that young, I was like, this is what I want to do. But with that being said, pro wrestling is one of my dreams. My other dream is to be like acting in movies and TV shows and stuff. So yeah.
Well, wrestling is a great segue into that, or, coming from acting, going into wrestling. So they both kind of go hand in hand. So I think regardless, I think you picked a good path there.
Thank you.
Was there any intention when you said, okay, I want to be a pro wrestler, that either, your brother or your cousin, anybody went, hey, let's do this thing. Let's make it a tag team.
No, I was really the only one. I've always been different than most people. I feel like, and this has nothing to do with, this is like, there's nothing wrong with what I'm going to say. I feel like most people live life in a straight line, so it's like, I'm going to graduate high school. I'm going to go to college. Then I'm going to, get a job, get married, have kids, grow old, die, and stuff like that. It's usually like the straight line of life, and I've never seen life that way. I've always like dreamed bigger and thought bigger and stuff. And nobody, even my cousins, I have other cousins too. I have a really big family. Even my other cousins watch wrestling, and none of them, well, actually there was one of them that wanted to pursue it, but he never did. Yeah. But we've all watched it since we were kids, and I was the only one that was like, this is what I'm going to do. And they all have like, regular jobs and stuff like that. And there's anything wrong with that at all. That's what they want to do. But I've never seen my life as being normal and having a normal job and stuff like that. I've had to have normal jobs before. You got to do what you got to do so you can do what you want to do, but yeah, I'm the only one.
No, I completely relate to that. I had a similar mindset growing up in the sense where that really didn't really appeal to me. Like, go to school, graduate, get a job, get married, have kids, like the normal narrative we're usually taught. So I completely agree with you in that sense. But you said growing up, being a wrestling fan, who were your inspirations? Who were your favorite wrestlers growing up? And eventually the ones that you said, okay, these are the guys that really motivate me or inspire me to really do it.
So I've got 3. So number one and number two are tied, I guess, for number one. It's Shawn Michaels and Eddie Guerrero. They're my favorites. Growing up, not knowing how pro wrestling actually works and stuff, they were definitely my favorites. Also Kurt Angle too. Kurt Angle is great. Just like because they could work, they were entertaining. You know, they could do everything. You know what I'm saying? Like they could do all aspects of pro wrestling, entertainment and stuff. And as I got older, I still love them. But as I got older, I realized that how much The Rock had an impact on everything.
Yeah.
And as I got into wrestling and learning about the business and how it's done and everything, The Rock just stands out beyond, you know, everybody just because of entertainment value, you know, and he wasn't necessarily the best wrestler, but like I always, I've told this to people, you know, new people that you see on NXT now and that are in the PC now. I've told them, like, look, like this is the way I approach it. And I always say the best wrestlers don't make the most money, and which is true. I know a lot of people will be like, I want to be the best wrestler. That's cool, but everybody can wrestle. But so like that, yeah. So that's why like my thing was always focusing on entertainment, the entertainment part of it, the character and the promos and stuff like that, which you could see what we were doing and Hit Row and everything. So
yeah. No, again, Eddie and Kurt are my two top guys, and just having two unique styles, one being, you know, the wrestling machine, Eddie Guerrero being the high flyer with the charisma, and them two just gelling together so well, just was always magic when they were in the ring together. So
Kurt Angle was not just a wrestler. Like he's a like legit Olympic gold medalist who could really jack you up, but he had charisma.
Yes.
You know? And I feel like that a lot of that is lacking nowadays on what the product is now. And I'm talking about as a whole.
Yeah.
I'm not just talking about one company. I'm talking about as a whole.
Yeah.
A lot of people, everybody wants to wrestle, but the wrestling is last, man. Like yeah. I said it in another podcast, man. Vince McMahon told us, I see us as a Hit Row. He told us to our faces that this is a movie production and we're the actors who do our own stunts. That's coming from Vince McMahon.
Wow.
So if he's saying that, maybe people should start thinking about this a little differently, you know, but people are going to do what they're going to do anyway. So whatever, you know.
In reference to The Rock too, I had a friend who does some acting, and he wanted to start a TikTok account and really showcase what he can do. And he asked me, what can I watch? I said, okay, go on YouTube and watch The Rock's promos and go watch Dusty Rhodes promos. And if you can come up with something unique in between there, golden.
Yeah, absolutely.
I get it. And the whole entertainment aspect, I mean, we see more of that today, I think, where the characters are more, you can see that they're trying to get to that point. But like you said with Kurt, he can go in the ring. He can have that charisma. He was very versatile. And that, right, I think, is the part that we're looking for today. But you've done so many things in your life before the age of 25. I mean, you served in the U.S. Army. How did that come about? How did you choose that was going to be your next path?
Well, my senior year in high school, I didn't like school, you know, at the time and everything, as I'm sure a lot of teenagers don't like school. I was one of them. And you know, my senior year, I actually started my senior year 16 years old. I started school a year early and stuff. So I was like one of the younger people in my grade, but like everybody knew what they wanted to do going out of high school. Like most people wanted to go to college and stuff, and they knew what degree they wanted to get. I didn't know at all. I was searching, you know, I didn't know. And at the time I wasn't really thinking pro wrestling because I just didn't think it was realistic. But so I had my cousin, one of my cousins. Like I said, I have a big family. One of my cousins, he's a year older than me. He was in Air Force boot camp while I was in my senior year of high school, and I went down to San Antonio, Texas, Lackland Air Force Base or something like that, for his graduation with his parents, my brother and his brother, and both his parents were both in the Air Force, and that's where they met and stuff. And so while I was there, like his parents were telling me, about the military and like the lifestyle and all the benefits and stuff like that. And then as they're telling me, I'm like seeing with my own eyes, like how, things are on base and stuff like that. So I got an interest in it. And so at first I was like, oh, I want to join the military. And let me tell you, my parents were not about that. My parents are not about that at all.
Yeah.
My mom was like, why can't you just go to college? And like, this is not what I want to do. What was I gonna say? But yeah, so I decided at first I want to join the Marines because I was like, I want to do the hardest thing. So I was like, let me join the Marines. And but when I talked to a couple of recruiters and stuff, at the time, the Marines didn't really let you, like, I guess, pick your job, and like they would like kind of pick your job for you.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to get, a job that I'm not going to like. So I decided not to do the Marines and stuff. And that was at that time. I don't know how it is now, but so I looked into the Army, and I didn't want to do the Air Force. I didn't want to do the Air Force like my cousin because I've heard that, nothing against the Air Force, but I've heard that like it's just not as challenging as the others. Now I like a challenge and stuff.
Yeah.
So I decided to talk to Army recruiter, and then that was it. Ended up joining the Army at 17 years old. My parents had to sign with me, which they did not like, or sign for me, which they did not like because I was under 18. Yeah. But yeah, so like most people don't even know, but I actually, when I first joined the military, I actually joined I joined this military police because my parents wouldn't let me do a combat arms job, which is what I wanted to do. But so I did my training and stuff like that. I was in training for like 6 months for that.
Yeah.
But I knew it wasn't what I wanted to do. So as soon as I got to my unit, I was just like, I want to change MOSs, or I want to change my job. MOS stands for Military Occupational Specialty. So I want to change my MOS, and they were cool with it for some reason. I was like, okay, cool. And so I went back to training again. So I was literally in training for like a year. And then as soon as I got done training, I switched to a combat arms job, like infantry. And I got out of training, and then I got to Fort Drum up in upstate New York. And if anybody knows about New York, people think Buffalo is upstate New York. It's not. It's Western New York. I was like,
I'm in Jersey, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I'm from Jersey too.
There you go.
Yeah, so like, I was like upstate New York. Like it snows 9 months out of the year there, and it's freezing. It's like -20 in the winter there. It's ridiculous. But yeah, so I got to my unit. I want to say December 2009, and then March 2010, I deployed to Afghanistan for 12 months, March 2010 to March 2011. Wow. And I can tell you that was the military as a whole was the foundation of my life. I learned a lot of life lessons. It taught me to be more mature, to be more patient, to be a man, I guess. And it just taught me a lot of things that I wouldn't have really learned outside of the military. To be honest, I feel like it should be, I guess it shouldn't be mandatory, but I feel like it should be mandatory for like people out of high school to do like 2 years in the military, because like it'll completely change your mindset and everything, and your outlook on life and stuff. It'll just mature people, not only for that reason, But yeah, so like I deployed to Afghanistan. I'm gonna go. I guess I'll go more into detail on this one. Unless you have any more questions.
No,
So
yeah.
I can keep talking.
Go for it, man. Go for it.
So I got to Afghanistan March 2010, and it was already hot there. So like I went to Kandahar, Afghanistan, which is southern Afghanistan. It's the desert, and if people don't know, there's different terrains and everything and like stuff like that in Afghanistan. Like southern Afghanistan is desert and hot, really hot.
Yeah.
And then when you start going up northern Afghanistan, it's like really big mountains and it gets cold. So I've actually got to experience both. But yeah, so that deployment was absolutely wild. I was in a recon unit, a Cav Scout unit. We had 3 platoons in our company, and I was in 3rd platoon. They put us on our own FOB. FOB stands for Forward Operating Base. They put 3rd platoon, my platoon, on our own FOB, like away from the other platoons, and we had 6 villages to cover. When the other 2 platoons had 4 total split between the both of them. Yeah. So we had a lot of villages to cover between one platoon. And so because of that, we saw the most combat and action because there was a lot of those villages that did not mess with us. Like they would tell us every time we walked in, like, we don't want you here, please leave and stuff like that. And, we'd leave and then end up shooting at us and stuff. So, which is crazy because like, I don't know if anybody watching this, you ever been shot at before? It's definitely an adrenaline rush. It's a wild feeling. Like you can feel bullets go by you. Like you can feel the force of bullets go by. Like I've literally felt bullets go right by my head and just like, yeah. It's just like, a couple inches this way, a couple inches that way, and we wouldn't be having this conversation right now, Yeah. And that's happened many times. I've also been, I haven't said this in the other ones either. I've also been blown up and almost blown up. Wow. Many times. Like I was 10 meters from an IED, which is an improvised explosive device they like to use. They put them in the ground and you can't really see, it's there and stuff. But I was 10 meters from one, and the only reason why I'm sitting here right now is because there was a wall that kind of took some of the blast, but it blew me back like 10, 15 feet with all my gear on. I have it's like 120 pounds plus pounds of gear. And it's just, it blew me. It has that much force. And those of you that are watching and I have shot guns before, an explosion is like 10 times louder because guns are really loud, but an explosion is like 10 times louder. So I remember when that happened and I remember I couldn't hear anything. Everything was muffled and my ears were ringing. I also, since that day, I have tinnitus. I'll just say that I'm being open. I have tinnitus, which is ringing in the ears. So it's permanent and I deal with it, but but yeah, so like, that was a crazy day. We ended up, losing 2 people, KIA, which is killed in action, and then ended up having like 6 or 7 wounded. Wow. That day. Yeah. So it's, and that was just one day. And that was also 5 days before 2 other guys in my platoon got killed. So yeah, we had 4 guys die in 5 days and probably like 10 wounded in 5 days. It's in a 26-man platoon. So, wow. Yeah. So, my platoon, I was actually very lucky. I was very lucky. And, I believe everything happens for a reason. I would say about 70 to 75% of my platoon got Purple Hearts. And if you don't know what a Purple Heart is or what it's for, it's just an award or a medal. Like you don't want to get that. You don't want to get that medal. Yeah. Purple Heart is just like if you get wounded or killed in combat, you know, and stuff like that. So they give you a medal for it, which is not what you want. But I was fortunate enough not to get one. So, but yeah, I have crazy experiences there. Like I've torn my hip. I tore my hip in Afghanistan, and I walked on it for like 12 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, I just had to suck it up. There's really sharp pain and stuff. Just a lot of crazy things. Like during Ramadan, they turned up the heat on us. They shot at us a lot.
Wow.
During Ramadan and stuff. Yeah, it's just a lot of things people don't even know about me. Yeah. I don't know.
I'm happy you're here, though. I'm happy you're here.
Yeah, no, I'm happy I'm here too.
And again, thank you for your service. I mean, to hear those stories is just, it's impactful, and especially for people who don't know your story or who don't even know what it's like to be in that position. I mean,
yeah,
to be able to be.
I've actually got one more story.
Yeah, go for it.
I've got a lot. I've got a lot of stories actually, but we can't cover all those. I did mention earlier. So like, I said I've been blown up, and I've almost been blown up. The 10 meters one is where I consider getting blown up because I got blown back like 10 feet. But there was one where I almost got blown up, and so most of the time we do our missions at night because we have night vision, and they don't. So most of the time we do our missions at night, and then if people don't know, it's not like it's a third world country, so they don't have street lights. They don't have lights like that. So once it's dark out, it's pitch black out there. And so I remember one day we did a mission with the Army Rangers. They're a high speed, special operations unit. And so we did. So then, it was funny because like we had drove and then walked to the location, and they just flew in. And I was like, you guys are lucky. Because like we had to cross this wadi, which is like a river, and it was like up to my neck, and I had to like carry my weapon like up here and stuff. Wow. So like by the time we got to them, I was soaking wet. I actually got another story about something like that too. Yeah. If you don't mind, if we got
listen, man, go for it.
Okay.
That's what us podcasters are here for, to let people tell stories. So
yeah. So we did a mission. Once we met up with the Rangers, did a bunch of door kicking and whatever the objective was. I don't even know. I don't even remember, to be honest. But it took a couple hours, and then we exfilled and went back to our trucks, and they flew out. Lucky. So I was in the first truck, which is usually what I was in. Actually, no. Sometimes I was in the rear truck, but at this time I was in the first truck, and it was probably close to 5 a.m.
Yeah,
it was probably close to 5 a.m. And the sun was like just barely coming up. And I remember because it was a long night, like we do stuff at night. So like I'm in the passenger seat, and I'm sitting there dozing off and whatnot. And we're driving back. I'm dozing off. And then I'm like halfway asleep. And then all of a sudden, a huge explosion goes off right in front of us.
Wow.
And yeah. And they had, I guess they had tried to time the detonation of blowing us up. But they blew it up right in front of us. And yeah, that let me tell you, that woke me up. It was very, very loud, and it woke me up. Very, very, very fortunate for that now happening. And what was I gonna say? So when we drove around the crater was humongous. Like like I said, that I might not be sitting here right now. Yeah. But going back, I was saying that, I have another story. Going back to the first story I told about with the what's it called, where I go 10 meters from the blast and stuff. Yeah. So that was another night mission. It started off as a night mission. We were actually out there for about 18, 19 hours. But it started off, we started off at midnight, and which is crazy because like before we even left the FOB, we got intel saying the Taliban knows we're coming and they're arming the IED belt. So they're arming all the IEDs knowing that we're coming. And I'm like, why are we still going?
Yeah.
And I told you what happened. But before all that happened, this is probably the scariest and the funniest part of my life. So we got to our first rendezvous point, and we were waiting for the other platoons to catch up and whatever, because it was like a big company mission and stuff. And so we got to this one point, and my platoon sergeant was like, "Hey, like you and Rodriguez are gonna be out in front, and y'all are gonna use the Valance, which is a mine detector, out in front of the platoon, you know, to make sure there's no, like, you know, when there's no bombs and stuff." Yeah. And I'm like, great, that's good, you know, that's exactly what I want to do, right? I mean, you can't say no. Yeah, it's like, you know, like that's the order. You know, so it's like 2-3 in the morning, and it's pitch black, and I remember we were in like tall grass and stuff like that, and I'm just sitting here, you just, you know, using the mine detector back and forth, and it just like because it beeps anyway, and it's just like you're listening for certain beeps and stuff, and I'm like, any one of these steps, I'm gonna get blown up. So I was like terrified because like it's pitch black, I can't even see anything, you know what I'm saying? And so I was terrified with that. But then we got to this certain point when we were moving and stuff where we had to go one by one. It was like this little dirt path. It was a dirt path that you had to go one by one because it was really narrow. Yeah. And so I remember Rodriguez went first, and I was behind him, and then everybody else behind me. And so as we're walking on this dirt path, the ground breaks underneath me, and to the right of me is a wadi or river. So the ground breaks underneath of me, and it's pitch black. Like I said, the ground breaks underneath me, and I fall and roll into the river. And then because it's pitch black, so everybody heard the splash. Yeah. And I come up out of the water, and everybody's laughing. Like, yo, who fell into the water? I was like, it was me, but I couldn't pull myself out because I had this, especially with all the gear, and then now all my gear soaking wet. I couldn't even pull myself out. It was so heavy, so I had to like have them pull me out of the water and stuff. So like, yeah, I sat there for at least a couple hours soaking wet, but it gets really hot out there. I think the hottest day was nobody's gonna believe me about this, but literally the hottest day I saw on the thermostat said 147 degrees. And then I would say average during the summer was 125 degrees, and then during the day and at night it would be anywhere from 100 to 110 degrees, and this is Fahrenheit. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Have all the equipment on and 100 pounds and.
Yeah. You get real sweaty, and it's not. I said it's the desert, but it's really not a dry heat out there. It's humid. It's humid. Yeah, it's not a dry heat. But I had let me see. I have one story. I have a bunch. Like I said, I can do this all day, man. I had one story right before we left, like probably February 2011, a month before we were leaving, and we had to give our trucks to another unit, but they were up in northern Afghanistan, so we had to drive like 16 hours from like southern to northern Afghanistan. Yeah, and it was actually a really cool experience because you got to see because down in the desert there's mountains too, but they're not as big. Like they're like a couple thousand feet, but they're not as big. But once you go up north, they're like 14, 15, 16,000 feet. It's like, yeah. And so like, as we started going up north, you could see like everything change. And then like, it was really cool to see, like you start seeing the mountains have snow on them. And then at one point it started snowing. And I'm like, this is the first time I'm seeing snow here. Yeah. But so we did that mission twice. And the first time that we drove, we were on this road, and it was really scary because when we do mounted patrols, mounted means like on like in the trucks and stuff. Dismounted means you're walking. And most time we did dismounted patrols because of the IEDs. But we so on this mounted patrol, the mountains. I would say I was a gunner in the turret.
Yeah.
And so the mountains were so big that there was like cliffs, and like anybody could have like. I always felt like I would always have to look up because anybody could have like just been looking down and shooting and just shot at me. Just like, you know what I'm saying? It's right there. But like, that was like my right side. But to the left, somebody decided to run up the hill and started to shoot at us. So I'm like, okay. And then the other guy started shooting back and everything like that. Yeah, that was very silly of him to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's always like, oh shit, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, always looking over your shoulder and just
yeah. It's definitely an experience, man. I can keep. I don't know what else you want me to talk about. I don't know.
Yeah. So you serve your time there. You come back, and you decide to go to college and end up playing D1 football. Is that what happened there?
Yeah. So well, I wanted to make the military a career. I wanted to do at least 20 years and, you know, retire and stuff like that. When I got back, so when I was during my deployment, my platoon, I love those guys, man. That was my favorite platoon I was ever in.
Yeah.
Those guys were all high speed. They were all badass, you know, like just they were dudes, you know, and the leadership was great and everything. And then when well, it was kind of like, so I before I say this, one of the guys on my platoon, I was really close with him. He was actually ex-special forces, like Green Beret, but somehow he got hurt or something, and they brought him down to like a, you know, regular line unit. Line unit is like a combat unit, regular Army combat unit. Anyways, so like he kind of inspired me during deployment to like do special forces. So like, and then our lieutenant colonel was a ranger, so I was like I want to do special operations because they do all the cool guy stuff, like the real cool stuff.
You know?
Yeah. So like that's like, oh, when I get back, that's what I'm going to focus on and stuff. So we got back, and then they put me in a different platoon. It was out of my control, you know, but the platoon they put me in, I did not like at all. Like the leadership was not good. Besides the platoon sergeant, well, the second platoon sergeant, the first platoon sergeant I didn't like. Second platoon sergeant was cool. But I just didn't like that platoon, and it made me not like being in the military anymore. It just sucked. And so when I was trying to so like Fort Drum has special forces recruiters on the base and stuff like that. It's like when you go in their office, I didn't even know at the time, but they're evaluating you as soon as you walk in. So like, yeah, it's like a psychological thing. And if you do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing, they're like, nope, it's not for you, get out.
Wow.
And they don't care. But I passed. I didn't even know I was being tested, but I passed. So they're like, yeah, cool. So like, we want you to take this paperwork to your leadership and have them sign off on it so you can start training with us, so we can train you up for selection. Special forces selection is one of the hardest things to do, like in the military. It's one of them, along with like Ranger School and stuff. I think it has like a 70-75% dropout rate. It's absolutely insane. Yeah, it's really, really hard. But yeah, so like they were gonna train me up for selection, so I'm ready. Like I know what to expect. My body is physically ready, my mind is physically ready, and everything like that. So I took the paperwork to my leadership, and they wouldn't sign off on it. First of all, they didn't like me because I would say things to them, just like, you're not supposed to say, like, you're not supposed to call them out. I was like a lower enlisted, and you know, I would just call them out on their bullshit, you know.
Yeah.
And they didn't like me, but they needed to hear it because they sucked. So I took the paperwork to them, and they're like, yeah, we're not signing off on this until you get orders saying that you're going to selection. But you don't get orders saying you're going to selection until the week before you go to selection. So I can't sit there and try to train with the special forces guys for a week and expect to pass selection, you know? Yeah. So like they were going to train me for months, you know? And so like I actually went above my leadership, and I went to the first sergeant, and I was like, hey, like, you know, they won't sign off with this is what I'm trying to do. And my first sergeant backed my platoon sergeant. So I was like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. So I didn't end up doing special forces. I ended up getting out because they were like, yeah, like, well, if you want to do this, you can re-enlist and try to do it then. And I'm like, I don't want to re-enlist for another 4 years and have to deal with people like you know? And then I'm in a contract and I'm just like miserable. So I was like, okay, I need to figure out what I want to do when I get out. So at the time I was like, I'm either going to go somewhere and start wrestling training, or I'm going to go to school and get my degree. So I decided to get my degree. I still didn't think wrestling was the right thing at the time. Like I still thought it was like, you know, kind of, I don't know, out there to try to do. Yeah. You know, because it is very hard to do. But like I said, I think everything happens for a reason. So yeah. I decided to go to school, and I actually got into like UCLA and University of Florida and stuff. But I'm from New Jersey, but I didn't want to be in Jersey, and I kind of wanted to be away. But then I've been away. I was away from my family being in the military. So I was like, let me go somewhere that like I can just like, I'm a couple hours away. I can go home when I want, but I'm not home. So that's why I decided University of Maryland and stuff. So I got in. Actually didn't get in the first time. I had to take like a semester in community college, and then they accepted me. But I got in, and immediately, like within the first week of me getting in, I wanted to play football as well. So I tried out for the football team, and be mindful that I actually met with somebody with the LA Fitness. I was working out, and this dude used to play for the New York Jets. He was like, I told him, I was like, yeah, I'm trying to walk onto the team and stuff. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll help you out and stuff. So he helped me out for months and everything. And so I ended up walking on the team. They were doing a tryout, and I think it was like 13 of us doing a tryout, and only 2 of us, including myself, out of 13, got onto the team. And I was super excited about that. But yeah, so I ended up playing football in Maryland all 4 years, and I played a range of positions because I was a walk-on, you know. So my freshman year I played wide receiver. My sophomore year I played running back. My junior year they made me gain weight, and I played running back and fullback. And let me tell you, fullback is the worst position. It's the worst position. And then my senior year, they made me lose weight, and I played safety. I probably got up to like 230 or something, 230 pounds playing fullback, running back, and fullback. Yeah, I was a big dude at that time. And then when I played safety, I probably got down to like 200, 205 or something like that. But safety was definitely the most fun position to play. But I also, being there, I also got I went to school for theater. I got my degree in theater. Which is actually kind of funny because people used to be like, well, people in the theater program be like, there's a football player in the theater program. You know, like it's very unusual. And
you see that in movies.
yeah, exactly. So I was that guy, and it was a great experience. All the acting classes and stuff, and just the different experiences you get being there. Like I've worked, behind the scenes on a bunch of projects and plays and stuff like that. Like I've helped mix some of the sets and stuff like that. And, I actually never got to do a play because football is all year round. If people don't know, like college football is all year round. Yeah. All year round. Yeah. I think the only break we get is spring break. That's pretty much it. Yeah. The whole year. I never got to be in a play, but I've got to do a bunch of stuff. I've taken a bunch of acting classes through that and stuff. Got my degree. I graduated in 2016. I actually graduated early because, man, I just grind, man. Like
Yeah.
I'm a workaholic, man. So I actually graduated in 3.5 years, not even 4.
Wow.
Yeah. So like I would like take like 5 classes a semester and stuff instead of like people taking like 3 or 4. Sometimes I would take 6.
How old were you when you graduated?
Let me see. 26 when I graduated. People that you're
so
like,
much.
you're old.
You did
Say
so
again?
much to that point already. I mean,
Oh,
a
yeah.
lifetime's worth of stuff for most people, you know?
That's what I even say now, man. I'm like, I feel like I've done a lot. I feel like I've done more things even up till now than most people do in their entire life.
Yeah.
So, you know, like it's wild. Like, man, I've jumped out of planes. I've like rappelled from helicopters and stuff. And it's just, I've done a bunch of stuff, man. In the Army, I've shot expert with every single weapon. I was really good at that stuff. You know, shot mortars and stuff, sniper rifles, like all that stuff, man. It's just, yeah.
To college, you graduate, you walk on the field, D1 football. I mean, top level everything. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, man. I actually played with a lot of guys that are in the NFL now. Actually, I played with Stephon Diggs, and I see he just got paid a couple of days ago. So congrats to him. I played with DJ Moore. He's the receiver on the Panthers. There's another guy, Jermaine Carter. He's a linebacker on the Panthers. Yannick Ngakoue is a defensive end on the Raiders right now. I play with a lot of guys in NFL right now. But yeah, I mean, I can tell you right now, anybody that watches NFL and is like I say, a Buffalo Bills fan, I think in the 2 years that I played with Stephon Diggs, I've probably seen him drop the ball maybe once. he's that nice. He's that nice for real.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I know. I was gonna say, and then you know, doing all that stuff. 2017, you get a tryout with WWE. How does that come about? How do you make the transition out of college to that point? Yeah,
so just like high school, my senior year, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Well, I kind of had an idea, like being in the theater program, you know, most people move to New York or LA.
Yeah.
And try to pursue acting, but I always hear the horror stories of how extremely hard it is to pursue acting, you know, especially if you don't have anything on your resume and stuff. So I was like, I might just move to LA and just grind it out and see what happens, you know, just like I'm a risk taker. So, you know, I'm definitely just like willing to do what I got to do to reach my goals and my success and stuff. But so I had actually, the guy I was talking about in the military, who was in my platoon, he was in my platoon. He was a special forces guy. I don't know if you guys remember talking about him. His ex-wife now, he was married to her at the time, but his ex-wife now, one day she had just like my senior year, she just like hit me up. Or maybe it was after I graduated. Yeah, I think it was after I graduated. She just like messaged me on Facebook. And she was like, hey, yeah, like, you know, she knows, everybody knows I'm into wrestling. So she was like, yeah, like there's this wrestler, there's this WWE wrestler that always comes to my job. I think she works at a bar or something like that. Yeah. He always comes to my bar, my job and everything. He's like, he's wild and everything like that. And I'm actually pretty good friends with him. And she was like, I know you're into wrestling and stuff. Would you like me to link him up with you? I'm like, hell yeah. You know? So, because I didn't know what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh, maybe this is the calling for wrestling. Like I said, everything happens for a reason, man. Yeah. So the guy she was talking about ended up, it was Mojo. Yeah, Mojo at the bar. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so she ended up linking him up with me and stuff. And Mojo was super cool. And the wild thing is that Mojo actually went to University of Maryland and played football as well. Just like AJ Francis as well. I just didn't play with them. Yeah. I think I was in the military while they were in University of Maryland playing college and stuff, playing football and stuff. Say again?
What are the odds of all that?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I ended up linking up with him. I would talk to him on the phone for hours. He'd just be working out and he would just tell me about the business, tell me about how WWE is and everything like that. And then eventually he was like, yo, I can put in a word to try to get you a tryout. And I'm like, absolutely, I would love that. And so I ended up getting a tryout June 2017. And this is the first time I had ever done anything pro wrestling at all in my life.
Next time on the Angle Podcast.
But the person that's been helping me since the beginning, and most people probably don't even know this, is Velveteen Dream. That dude is amazing, and I don't care what nobody says about him. That dude is amazing.
And before you go, please like, subscribe, and check out more wrestling content right here on the Angle Podcast.